Between 1943 and 1951, the Monuments Men took a stand by taking back artwork stolen by the Nazis during World War II when they looted several treasure mines located in Northern Europe, Germany, and Austria. The Monuments Men's actions resulted in most of the artwork being returned to the original owners. Their efforts resulted in the creation of a foundation that is still active today. It encourages others to search for and return stolen artwork just as the Monuments Men had done. Many people describe the Monuments Men as heroic, brave, and courageous because they risked their lives in order to take back priceless pieces of art. In 1939, war broke out between the Nazis and neighboring countries. The Nazis won complete world domination. Hitler's plan for world domination was working out very well for the first couple of years. In the early months of 1941, the Nazis conquered from France to Ukraine. This is when Mussolini and the Italians joined the war on the side of the Axis powers. Next, Hitler made his first terrible decision of invading the Soviet Union on the Eastern Front on June 22, 1941, which to that point in the war, the Soviet Union was on the Axis powers. The heavily powered USSR defeated the Nazis in a hard-fought battle in Moscow and Stalingrad. The other Axis powers of Japan, with 353 fighter planes, decided to bomb Pearl Harbor in Hawaii on December 7, 1941. This event gave the Americans no choice but to declare war on the Axis powers. These two events caused the tides to turn dramatically during the war. Then came D-Day, when nearly 7,000 naval boats full of soldiers landed on Normandy Beach on June 6, 1944, only to be met by Nazi snipers. After another hard-fought battle on the beach, the Allied powers claimed a victory. After all of these battles in which the Allied powers won, the Nazis were overwhelmed by the Allied troops and were forced to surrender on May 7, 1945. But let's go back 30 years to Hitler's childhood. As a child, Hitler's dream was to be accepted to a top-notch art school. However, his family struggled, and Hitler decided to leave his home and wander the streets of Linz, Austria. He would visit museums and sit by the river and dream of being a great artist. In 1907, Hitler was 18 years old, and he had decided to follow his dream by attending Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. However, he had to take a 2-day entrance exam, which he was extremely confident about. However, his test results were judged unsatisfactory and he was not admitted to the academy. Hitler was badly shaken by this rejection and was filled with anger. He went back to the academy to get an explanation, and the museum stated that his drawings showed a lack of talent for artistic painting, notably a lack of appreciation of the human form. He was told, however, that he had some ability for the field of architecture. Hitler wanted to get his revenge on art, and he thought that being the leader of the Nazis would be a perfect time to steal art to put in his dream museum called the Führer Museum, which means leader museum in German. Hitler wanted to locate the Führer Museum in Linz, Austria, which is his hometown.
This caused the Monuments Men to be created in New York City by Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower issued an order for the protection of historical monuments all over the world. The Monuments Men was made up of men and women from Allied countries that volunteered for the MFAA, or the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archive. All members had to have experience with art, or they were artists or architects, so if any art was ruined, they would know how to care for it. Initially, the Monuments Men were tasked with assisting troops in protecting churches, museums, and cultural artifacts from damage in Allied attacks that were occurring. It was a mission echoed by General Dwight D. Eisenhower, who in the moments leading up to D-Day in 1944 ordered his commanders to safeguard historical monuments and cultural centers. This symbolized to the world that all the Allied forces were fighting to preserve the arts. As the Allies advanced across Europe and the Nazis fell apart, the Monuments Men's focus increased on the rescue and recovery of the art and artifacts looted by the Nazis. The Monuments Men came upon their first treasure while in a town called Kieselbach, Germany, which is close to Merkers, Germany. In Kieselbach, they came upon 2 French women who had been displaced by the French government. However, they interrogated the 2 women to see if they had any idea of any art that was located in the area. The woman seemed nervous throughout the interrogation, so they decided to take the woman to Lieutenant William A. Russell from the 19th Infantry Division G5. On the way, one of the Monuments Men saw the mine and asked the woman what sort of mine it was. They said it was a mine in which the German gold reserve and valuable artworks had been deposited several weeks before. They added that local civilians and displaced persons have been used for labor in unloading and storing the treasure in the mine. Early the next morning, several monuments men traveled to the mine located in Merkers in search of the lost artwork. However, when they got in the mine, they didn't find what they expected. Instead, they found in today's market over $5 billion worth of gold bars, which was piled up higher than 8 feet. However, they did find some art, which included Manet's Winter Garden, Dewars engraving, and other priceless pieces of art. Even though they didn't find as much art as they thought, they sure did hit the jackpot.
In central Germany, troops of the Third Army uncovered Germany's gold reserve hidden in a salt mine. Gold and foreign currencies worth millions. And art treasures from German museums, stored here for safekeeping. Rembrandts, Raphaels, Leonardos, and a Renoir. It is not yet decided what shall be done with them.
The Monuments Men's next mission occurred when the Allies knew the Al-Tassi mine thanks to a tooth problem. 2 months before the Monuments Men entered the mine, Major Robert Posey was in the ancient city of Trier in eastern Germany and needed a dental treatment. The dentist treating Major Posey introduced him to his son-in-law. The son-in-law had helped Hermann Goering, Hitler's second-in-command, steal trainloads of art. The son-in-law told him the location of Goering's collection as well as Hitler's art stash in the Al-Tassi salt mine. When Stout and fellow monuments men arrived at the entrance of the mine on May 21, 1945, the conditions in the mine were between 40 and 47 degrees and about 65% humidity, ideal for storing the stolen art as stated in Stout's journal. The deepest tunnels were more than a mile inside the mountain, safe from enemy bombs even if the remote location was discovered. The Nazis built floors, walls, and shelving, as well as a workshop deep in the chambers. Hitler claimed Al-Tassi as the perfect hideaway for artwork intended for the Fuhrer Museum. The Monuments Men searched the mine from floor to ceiling and found an astounding 6,577 paintings, 2,300 drawings, 954 prints, and 137 pieces of sculpture. To say the least, it was a successful mission. Some artwork that the Monuments Men found in the Al-Tassi salt mine included altarpiece of Vet Staus, portrait of Adele Bloch-Bauer, the astronomer, Amber Room, Madonna and Child, Ghent altarpiece, and many more priceless works of art. Now it was on to returning the artwork to the original owners, but first the Monuments Men had to take the artwork out of the mines. They did this by carrying a stretcher-type device that 2 Monuments Men and soldiers would hold on each side. It took about 3 months to empty both of the mines. After this process was completed, the art was taken to the former Nazi headquarters to be sorted and stored until further instructions were given. The headquarters eventually got full, and at this point the Monuments Men had to take the extra art and gold to different places in Munich, Germany, which they called the Munich Collecting Point. However, many Monuments Men and soldiers handling the treasure thought it would be a good idea to take art and gold from the mines without giving these belongings back to their rightful owner. Those soldiers and Monuments Men were caught, looked down upon, and dishonorably charged from the military. The treasure was decided on by the Monuments Men to be brought back to the countries of their origin. When this decision was made, the Western Allies immediately got to work on returning the art. This commitment took 6 years to fulfill. This caused the next generation to follow in the footsteps of the Monuments Men by returning artwork to the original owners. One of the most passionate people involved in returning art from World War II is Robert M. Etzel. He has dedicated his entire life to finding missing artwork and returning it just as the Monuments Men had done. He created a foundation in 2007 called the Monuments Men Foundation for the Preservation of Art, which asks for help from the public if they have an idea where a piece of artwork is located. He also published 3 books about the Monuments Men called Rescuing Da Vinci, The Monuments Men, Allied Heroes, Nazi Thieves, and the Greatest Treasure Hunt in History, and Saving Italy. Lastly, he helped in the creation of the Monuments Men movie in 2014, which featured George Clooney and Bill Murray. This movie encouraged the viewers to acknowledge the work that the Monuments Men had done. Robert Etzel's work and dedication have inspired others to assist him in the rescuing and returning of the art that was unlawfully taken by the Nazis in World War II. The Monuments Men's stand in history not only resulted in the return of treasures, but also inspired others to stand up for what's right.